Have you ever just stopped and wondered why? I mean, what is that deep, nagging curiosity in all of us that makes us want to understand things? Well, thousands of years ago, Aristotle kicked off one of the most important books in all of philosophy, his Metaphysics, by tackling that exact question. So today, we're going to dive into his search for the ultimate why, a quest for what he called wisdom.
And boom, this is the first line. For Aristotle, this isn't just some nice, fluffy thought. It's a fundamental truth about who we are. He's saying this desire to get to the bottom of things is hardwired into our DNA. It's not something we choose, it's just part of being human. And this one sentence kicks off his entire investigation into the very nature of reality.
Okay, so here's the game plan for our little journey. We'll start by digging into that universal desire to know. Then we're going to climb what I'm calling Aristotle's ladder of knowledge all the way up to the summit where we'll define wisdom. From that peak, we'll check out the view, his famous four causes, and finally, we'll see how this whole quest is a shared journey that we're all still a part of. All right, first things first, Aristotle needs to prove that we're all born with this desire to know. And he doesn't just ask you to take his word for it. No, he points to something you and I do every single day. And it all starts with our senses. And this is where it gets really cool. Think about it. Why do you scroll through beautiful photos on your phone, or just stare at a sunset, or walk through an art gallery? You're not getting anything practical out of it, right? You're not finding food or spotting danger. Aristotle says that we take this simple delight, this joy, in just seeing things because it reveals the world to us. That joy is the proof. It's evidence of a deeper, pure desire for understanding itself. Okay, so we all want to know stuff, but is all knowledge created equal? Aristotle would say, no way. He lays out this amazing hierarchy, kind of like a ladder you have to climb. And it's all about the journey from knowing that something is the case to understanding why it's the case. In this example, just nails the difference. On one hand, you've got someone with experience. Think of a folk healer. They know that this one particular herb helped their friend Callias when he had a fever. It worked, but they don't know why. On the other hand, a medical scientist has art. That's theoretical knowledge. They know why that herb's active ingredient reduces fever in a whole class of people. Experience is about the particular, art is about the universal cause. So let's actually walk up this ladder, step by step. At the very bottom, you've got sensation. Just seeing, hearing, touching the world. Most animals have this. A step up is memory. Some animals can retain those sensations. Then, if you bundle a whole lot of memories of the same thing together, you get experience. But that top rung, that's the big leap. That's art and science, where you go beyond just a collection of experiences and grasp the universal principle, the why behind it all. And here's the real test, the dead giveaway. How can you tell the difference? Well, Aristotle says it's simple. The person who really knows something, the one who gets the why, they can teach it. They can explain the underlying principle. The person with only experience can tell you stories, sure, but they can't pass on the fundamental knowledge. Real knowledge is teachable. All right, we've made it. We're at the top of the ladder. And what do we find? We find this very special kind of knowledge that Aristotle calls wisdom, or Sophia. And here's the twist. The knowledge we find here is the most important, most valuable knowledge of all, precisely because, in a practical sense, it's completely and utterly useless. So what on earth is this useless knowledge? It's the knowledge of the biggest, most fundamental questions of all, the first causes and the core principles of everything. It's not about how to build a better mousetrap. You don't seek it to get rich or build something. You seek it just to know, to satisfy that deep, natural desire we started with. Its value isn't what you can do with it. Its value is in the understanding itself. And, the person who actually achieves this kind of wisdom, well, according to Aristotle, they're on a whole other level. They grasp the big picture, the universal truths. They can wrestle with really abstract ideas. And crucially, they can teach the why. They're not in it for the money or the fame. They're in it for the knowledge itself. And because of that, in the world of ideas, they're not followers. They're the ones who draw the map because they understand the terrain better than anyone else. Okay, so we're at the summit of knowledge. We're looking for these first causes. But what does that even mean? What does the world look like from up here? Well, Aristotle gives us a toolkit, a set of lenses to view the world through, a framework for getting to the why of literally anything. And this is his super famous theory of the four causes. Which leads to the big question, right?
If the whole point is to find the why, what are we even looking for? And Aristotle's big insight is that why isn't just one question. It's actually four different questions rolled into one.
And this, right here, is the heart of it. This is Aristotle's famous toolkit. To really truly understand something like this bronze statue, you have to ask four different why questions. First, the material cause. Simple enough. What's it made of? Well, it's made of bronze. Second, the formal cause. What's its shape, its blueprint, its design? That's the idea in the sculptor's head. Third, the efficient cause. What actually made it happen? That's the sculptor doing the sculpting. And finally, and for Aristotle, this was the most important one, the final cause. What is it for? What's its purpose, or telos? In this case, to honor a hero. To have a complete explanation, you need all four.
Now, it's really important to get this. Aristotle didn't just pull this stuff out of thin air. He was a huge believer in looking at what the thinkers before him had to say. He saw himself as part of a long, ongoing conversation, a kind of relay race for wisdom across generations. He looked back at the philosophers before him and said, hey, these guys were all onto something. The earliest ones, like Thales, they figured out the material cause. They were obsessed with what everything was made of. Later thinkers started talking about the efficient cause, what gets things moving. And of course, his own teacher, Plato, got really close to the formal cause with his theory of forms. So what Aristotle felt he was doing was taking all these different puzzle pieces and finally clicking them together into a complete picture. But this whole quest for truth, it's not easy. And Aristotle has this incredible analogy for it. What a mind-blowing image, right? The idea is that the biggest truths aren't hard to see because they're hidden in the dark. They're hard to see because they're so bright they blind us. Our minds, he says, can be like a bat's eyes in the middle of the day, completely overwhelmed by what's most obvious. It's just a profound statement of intellectual humility. And that really leads to one of my favorite ideas from all of this. He basically says philosophy is a team sport. No single person gets it all right, but pretty much nobody gets it all wrong either. Every thinker who genuinely tries to figure things out adds something to our collective understanding. Everyone adds a little bit to the pile, and together we build something massive. So that's what we want to leave you with. Aristotle handed down this powerful toolkit for asking why. The four causes aren't just some dusty ancient idea. They're a way of looking at pretty much anything. A new gadget, a political movement, a work of art, even your own life. The point is, this quest didn't end with Aristotle. It's still going. It's our quest now. So now that you've got the tools, what why are you going to go explore?